So the first thing, we're gonna go over some quick settings, some quick setup to make it easy for you, right? So whenever you guys are working in Rhino and you're gonna transfer information from Rhino to either Photoshop and Illustrator, and by the way, we're gonna be using Rhino and Illustrator in this project. So whenever you are transferring or exporting information from Rhino to any of those software, so you want to be working in layers, so make sure you're working in layers. I'm going to show you the process, or I'm going to show you exactly how to do that during the project, so don't worry about it. So next part, the units down here, you're going to see the units in which you're working on. So in this project, what we're going to do is we're going to trace a floor plan, and then after, we're gonna do some post-production in which we're gonna render the floor plan, we're gonna create a presentation board. But like I said, I'm gonna show you how to do that. So first thing, down here, you're gonna see the units in which you're working on. So right now we're working in inches. We're gonna change that by typing units, as you can see right here, right, units, and then hit enter, and then this is gonna pop up. Okay, give me just 1 second, guys. Okay, so we're back. Just 1 second. Make sure it's recording. Yeah. So we're back. So what I did is down here on the top left, bottom left, sorry, you're gonna see this, which represent the keys that I'm hitting, right? So in case that you don't, for some reason you miss what I type on the command line, you can always go back here and it's gonna show you the keys that I'm hitting. Okay, as I was saying, so we're gonna change the units. So we're gonna type units, enter, then wait for this to pop up. Now we wanna be working in feet, and down here we're gonna change this to feet and inches, and then we can go ahead and do maybe this half. Then we're gonna go ahead and click OK, and there we go. So now, guys, next part, this, the O snaps. So basically what these do, guys, is they're gonna snap, or whenever, let me show you an example. Let me create a line. So I'm gonna type line, and then start of line, I'm just gonna click right here and then end it right there, and then I'm gonna create another one horizontal. So I start right there, click on the opposite side to finish the line, right? And let's say that for some reason I don't have the O snap turned on. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's say that I want to move this line from this exact point to the middle point of this one, right? So if I type command, select the object to move it. Oh, and by the way, up here on the command line, it's gonna tell you exactly what it needs you to do. So let's go back. So move, enter, and then select objects to move. In this case, we want the line. Enter, and then it's gonna ask you for the point to move it from. So in this case, I want to move it exactly from this point, but as you can see, it doesn't give me like a reference or anything. So the best thing I could do at this point is I could just guess where the endpoint is, click right there, and then it's gonna let you move it. But now I want to move it to the midpoint right here, right? And it's like I said, as I said before, it doesn't give me a reference point. So the best thing I could do at this point, like I said, is estimate where the midpoint is and just move it right there, right? But um, that's kind of I mean, it's not the correct way to work. So that's why we use the O snap, right? So let me go ahead and turn this on. And then I have endpoint, near point, point, midpoint, intersection, and perpendicular. So what they do is, whenever I want to move something, copy something, or anything like that, it's gonna give you reference points, so you know exactly where you're moving things from, right? So let's try to move it again. Oh, and by the way, the ortho, sorry, I forgot about this one. The ortho, guys, the ortho command only let's say that you want to move it, right? If you have the ortho command turned on, it's only gonna let you move. Uh, it's only gonna let you make moves in 90-degree angles, right? So in order for you to override that, you can press Shift, hold it, and then it's gonna let you move it freely, right? So there's that. So back again. Let's try to move this line. Now that we have the O snap turned on, we're gonna move it. Select the object, enter, and then as you can see now, it's gonna give you a reference point. It's gonna snap. It's gonna give you snapping points. So in this case is the end point, and then I want to move it to the midpoint. I'm gonna find it right there. Click right there. Now we know that we move this line from the end point to the middle point of this one. Okay, that's why it's very important to be working or to have the OSNAP command turned on. And then the ortho command later is gonna come into play whenever we start working on the floor plan itself. Um, okay, so now guys, let's start working on the project itself. So like I said, we have different layers. So the first layer that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna double click on the default layer to rename it. So in this case, it's gonna be the reference image, which is gonna be the floor plan. Second one, it's gonna be let's call them outer walls. Then inner walls. Then I'm gonna have my windows and doors. Next, I wanna have my section cut lines. Also, I want my what else? Section cut lines and my north arrow. So my north arrow. So I think those are the ones that I can think of right now. So if you notice, I'm not doing any furniture right now just because we're gonna add that later in the process, right? So for now, I just want the basic, the basic line work of the floor plan, right? So section cut lines, and then let's do, yeah, let's do, no, let's forget about that one. Okay, so this is it. This is what I want. Okay, so now the next part, we're gonna go ahead and, we're gonna go ahead and start working on the floor plan. So what you guys are gonna do is you're gonna go to Google and then find a floor plan, right? So you guys wanna find a floor plan. Okay, so as I was saying, so I want you to find a floor plan, guys. So in this case, I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna do a super easy one, very simple, just to show you how to do it. But of course, you guys, I'm gonna require you to do something a little bit more complex, such as this. Yeah, something with more rooms. Okay. I don't want you to do the same one as I do. I want you to do. I want you to do your own. So I'm gonna save this. So right click, save image, and then what I suggest you to do, guys, is create a folder. Right. So in this case, I'm gonna create a folder called rendering project. Double click in there, and then right click, new, and then folder, and this is gonna be the reference image. And it's very important, guys. Okay, so give me just 1 second, cause if you notice, this is a 8-bit file. I don't know if that's gonna work. So what I'm gonna do instead, I'm gonna close this, and then I'm gonna hit the Windows key, and then I'm gonna look for the snipping tool, this one right here. So I'm gonna create a new image. Then in this case, I just want this one. I just want one floor plan, right? and then I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it under the folder that I was just talking about. So rendering project, reference image, and then this is gonna be my floor plan, and then save. Okay, there we go. Now let's go ahead and start working in Rhino. So we can minimize this, and then we have this. Now another layer that's gonna be very important, guys, and you're gonna see why once we start rendering this thing, is something that I'm gonna call room separation, and I'm gonna tell you why. Okay, so right now, if you notice, well, in my case, if you notice, I have this check mark right here, which means I'm working on the north arrow layer. So I want to change that. Like I say, I need you to be very organized the way you work in layers. So I'm gonna double click on the reference image to be working in that, because that's the first that I'm gonna do. I'm gonna import the image of the floor plan that I just saved, right? So I'm gonna type image, sorry, picture. So picture, right? And then I'm gonna select my reference floor plan, which should be under the reference image. Click on it and then open, and then it's gonna ask you to select the first corner. Just click anywhere. At this point, it doesn't really matter how big it is, because we're gonna scale it up or down or scale it to size later, right? So click on the first corner, then drag it and just click anywhere to end the command, and now we have the floor plan, right? So we're only gonna be working on 2D, so X and Y, so the top view. So what we can do is we can make this viewport bigger by double clicking on this tab where it says top. So double click right there, and it's gonna make the viewport bigger. Let me just make sure it's recording. Yes. So the next part, guys. Now we can start working on the tracing the actual floor plan. So I'm gonna do another layer, and you don't have to do this one, guys, but this one is gonna help it. I'm gonna give you some notes, some important notes. So just so you guys know, let me go ahead and notes, no, sorry, text. So I'm gonna do some text. We're gonna do some text right here, and give me just 1 second. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. Give me just 1 second. Okay, guys. So we're gonna, like I said, I'm gonna first, before I start doing anything, I'm gonna scale this up. So for the most part, guys, we need to find a way to scale this to the correct dimensions. Sometimes, whenever you're having or working with reference floor plans, most of the time you're gonna see some scales, right? But in some other cases, such as in this one, you're not gonna see any scale, right? So what we can do is we can take the door as reference. So we know that the doors usually are 36 inches wide. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this door as reference to scale everything to the correct size. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and type scale, right? And then I wanna scale my floor plan, select the image, and then enter. Then it's gonna ask you for the base point, which is gonna be, let's do this. Then we're gonna go up here, right? Somewhere around there. And then we're gonna go ahead and type 36 inches, or we can do 3 feet, and then hit enter, and it should be on scale right now. So let me double check that by typing distance. We click on the first, then second, and it's 3 feet. That's what we want. Okay, so now it should be in the correct scale. Sorry, another thing, guys. I'm gonna create a new layer. This one, it's gonna be dimensions, and there we go. Sorry, we're gonna work with that later. So now we know that where we have this on the correct scale. So apparently this apartment or first floor, if I go ahead and do the distance, click right here and then right here, and it's about 26 feet and 6 inches, right? So that's what we want. Okay guys, so like I said, we're gonna yeah, so it's 26. Now we're gonna start working on the actual, well, let's do some lines, some notes. So distance, let's just measure this really quick. Yeah, let's do that. So in this case, all the walls have a thickness of 6 inches. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the outer walls 8 inches, and then the ones inside, I'm gonna make them 6 inches, right? So notes, just so you guys have in mind. So I'm gonna do text and then notes, standard door width, it's gonna be, sorry, 36 inches, right? And then outer walls, we're gonna make them 8 inches, and the inner walls gonna be 6 inches. I'm just gonna give you these numbers as reference, guys, so whenever you are scaling things up or scaling your floor plan to the correct size and working on the lines, um, you guys can have these numbers in mind, right? So click OK. Now I'm just gonna make my notes right here. Just gonna put them right here, just as reference. Now let's start working on the outer walls. So double click on the outer walls, and then I'm gonna lock the reference image and the notes. So whenever we're doing the line work, we don't mess anything on the reference line, on the reference image or the notes, right? So before we move on, let's save this before anything. So save it, and then look for your folder, and then I'm gonna name it, or you guys should name it rendering. Let's go rendering mini project, and then save it. There we go. Now let's start working on the line work. So again, double click on this layer to be working right here. So what I'm gonna start doing, I'm gonna do a quick rectangle. Since in my case my floor plan is just a rectangle, I'm gonna do a rectangle. But uh, if you were, you should have something a little bit more complex. So what you guys can do is you can do polylines or lines to start tracing this thing. So I'm gonna do a polyline just to show you the different ways you can do this. So polyline, and then I'm gonna start right here, then go to the next one, then go down here, there, and then I want to connect it right here. And there you have it. There you have, well, if we turn this off, you're gonna see that, right? So that's one way you can trace everything using polylines, or you can use lines instead, right? So you can do different segments, different lines. So this will be the first one. Remember the osnap command, it's gonna give you a reference point. So I want to start right there, and then again, and create another line, and then there we go. That's how you do it. Okay, super quick. Now if we turn this off, we're gonna have this right here. We're gonna have the perimeter of whatever you're working on. Okay, so but in my case, like I said, I'm gonna do a rectangle, so I'm gonna try to make this as fast as I can. So rectangle, and then I'm gonna click on this one, the upper left corner, and then go, sorry, let me go ahead and go back to my top view, and then go to the opposite corner diagonally like this, and I'm gonna turn this off, and there we go. That's what we want. Now we can do something that it's called offset, right? So you don't have to retrace the whole thing again. So we can offset the curve we just created, and to create the thickness of the wall. So remember, the outer walls are gonna be 8 inches. So I'm gonna type offset, enter, and then select the curve that I wanna offset. So in this case is this one, and then where it says distance, I wanna go in 8 inches, as you can see right here and right here, and then hit enter, and then go in, click inside, and that's gonna create this, right? The outer, yeah, the outer wall. So now let's go back and start working on the inner walls. So line, I'm gonna create a line to start working on this one. So line, I'm gonna click right here, and then right now don't worry about the openings. I'm gonna show you how to do all the openings and all that right now. So for now we just want the basic outline, right? So I want that, then I want this one, or let's start working on the horizontal ones first. So this one right here, and then now let's do the vertical one like this, and then horizontal and this way, and lastly this one. So like I said, guys, I mean, this is basic line work. I'm gonna show you how to do all the openings right now, but now it should look something like this, right? In which you start separating the spaces. So the next part, I'm gonna turn this off so I can see better. Well, let me turn it on. Let me turn it on. Now I'm gonna go ahead and again do the offset. So offset. This time we want 6 inches, as you can see right here, the inner wall. So I'm gonna select where it says distance and then type 6 inches, and then hit enter, and then we're gonna start offsetting this line. So this one up, repeat the command to the left, this one as well, this one going in, this like that. So right now we should have something like this, right? So we have something like this. Now we can start cleaning this thing up. So we're gonna keep the outer wall separate from the inner wall. So right here, this is what we want, right? So we want to make this separation by creating this line right here. So we're not gonna do anything to where the inner and outer walls connect, but we're gonna start working on these intersections, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select everything and then type trim, enter. Then I don't want this line or this or this, 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 this or this, and you're gonna see why once we move into Illustrator. Well, yeah, once we start rendering this thing. So to exit the command or to end it, just hit enter, and there we go. Now let's start working on the openings, right? So we know that we need a line right here to trim to create this opening. So create one line right there, and then we want another one somewhere around there. And then remember the doors, for the most part they are standard size, so 36 inches. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create one line right here, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna offset this one and I'm gonna type 36 inches or 3 feet. Sorry, go to the top one and then move it up right there, and there you have it. I'm gonna repeat the same process right here. So line, click right there, and then offset it again, 36 inches. There we have it. Now let's do the last one right here, and then offset it again, 3 feet, enter, and then sorry, offset, and then select the line, and then we make sure it's 3 feet, and then we just move it to the right. Okay, and let's do the little the windows. So we're gonna repeat the same process of line, and then the opening is gonna start right there, and then we can create another one right there. We're gonna do this process for all the windows that you guys have. So line, line. So we're creating these lines to be able to trim it later. Okay, so line, line right here, line right here, and then again line right here, and then offset it because we know the measurements of this, which are 36 inches, and there we go. Now let's go ahead and start trimming everything. So we're gonna turn off the layer, the reference image, and we can start working. So look, we have all that, so that's what we need. So again, we're gonna select everything and then trim, enter, and then I'm gonna select this line, this line, this one, this one, this one, this one. So what we're doing right here is we are just trimming the lines that we don't need, right? Or the openings of the house where you have hallways or doors or windows, right? So there we go. That's the basic shape of or that's kind of the basic layout of your floor plan. So now what I'm gonna do now, guys, is since I already have this, sorry, completely forgot about this. I'm so sorry, guys. So I'm gonna select everything that it's inside, right? And then I'm gonna move it to the inner wall layers. So I'm gonna select everything that it's inside and then click right here, and you're gonna see all this. So just click where it says inner walls, and that's gonna change it to the correct layer. Okay, so now we should be working in layers. I'm sorry, I forgot about that, guys. So the next part, so we have okay, so now next part, let's start working on windows and doors. So double click on that layer, and then we know that these are doors, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna type line, and then I'm gonna click anywhere right here, and before ending the line I'm gonna type 3 feet or 36 inches, and then enter, and then just click there to finish the line. And then if we measure it by typing distance, it's gonna be 3 feet, which is what we want. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a circle, right? So circle, and then going from the center of it, it's gonna be the start of this line, and then the end of it, it's gonna be the end of this. Now I'm gonna do another line going from the center, going up, if you have the ortho command, guys, I mean, I don't know why it's doing this, but let's make this line a little bit longer, or make it kind of past the boundary of the circle, something like that, just to make sure it's very straight, something like that, right? And then what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna do a rectangle, right? Then I'm gonna start right here on the top of the line, and then go down to something like this. just to create, this is gonna be our door, right? So I'm gonna select the curve that I started with, which was the base one. And then if this happens to you guys, it means that you're trying to select a thing that it's, I mean, that it's in a space in which two elements share the space, right? So what I mean is, if I try to select that line, this is gonna pop up, and then if you select the bottom one, it's gonna select the rectangle or just a curve. In this case, we just want the curve, select it, and then delete it. Now I'm gonna go ahead and trim this. So I'm gonna trim it because I just want this arch right here, not the rest of the circle. So I'm gonna select this as the cutting object, and then also the rectangle we just created, and then enter. Then we're gonna get rid of this part right here, the rest of this, and then also I don't want this little segment right here, so I'm gonna trim it and enter, right? So under the lines are and doors. So at this point, I don't really need this line right here, right? So I can just delete this one to be left up with only this. So where it says on the layer where it says windows and doors, right? Let's create a new sub layer, and this is gonna be, let's call it opening. Okay, so I'm gonna select this, and then I'm gonna expand this one, the windows and doors, and then I'm gonna save it on this under the sub layer where it says opening, right? So, and then like I said, I'm gonna show you why whenever we start working on the rendering. So now um select sorry select everything, and let's group it. Right now we can just start moving this thing. So move, and then this right here, and then I'm gonna move it right there. Now we need three more, so this one, this one, and this one. So I'm gonna copy it from this point right here, and then right here, also right there, and right there as well, right? So now we just need to rotate these things. So I'm gonna select it and then rotate, enter. Center of rotation is gonna be this, and then the end of the door, and then just move it or drag it to rotate it, and then same thing right here. So select it, rotate, center, end of the door, and then align it to this wall right here. Same thing right here. Enter, then rotate it, and there we go. Now let's go back, and well, before we move on, now we just gonna create the windows. So again, remember, make sure you're working in the windows and doors layers. So line, I'm gonna select the middle point, and then offset, and then let's offset this 3 inches. 3 going up, 3 going down, and there you have your window. Super simple. So again, line from this middle point to the next one, and then offset distance, we want 3 inches going up, enter to repeat the command, and then going down. Then same process, line, middle, offset, going up and going down. There we go. That's what we want. So now it's super simple, guys. I know we don't have, at this point, we don't really have any furniture or anything. We're gonna add that later, right? So let's go ahead and turn this on, right? So what we can do in this case, guys, is this one is in the correct, I mean, it opens the correct way, but now this, and this, we need to flip them so they open the correct way. So what we can do is, I'm gonna create a line right here, and then another one right here, and then another one right here. These are gonna be reference lines. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mirror the doors. So I'm gonna select that, or I'm gonna type mirror and then select the door, enter, and then we're gonna use the line as reference. So midpoint, and then just click anywhere down here just to create that center, or the center of the mirror. And now it's gonna mirror it. Now just delete the one we don't need. Again, select, mirror, enter, midpoint, and then we delete that one. And then same thing right here. There we go. This is all we want, guys. Okay, super basic, very basic. Now we're gonna do some extra things, right? So we have reference image, we have the inner walls, we have windows, right? We also have outer walls, right? Now, well, nodes as well. And then let's start working on the north arrow. So north arrows, guys, the easiest, you always want to have north arrows on your floor plans, always. So I'm gonna show you how to do one like super quick. So what I like to do is make them super simple, right? So basically we're gonna do something very similar to what we did on doors. So circle, and then let's make them this big, something like that, right? And then line, and we're gonna find this midpoint. So we're gonna create a line passing through or cutting through the circle, right? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a rectangle just as I did on the doors. So rectangle, select the middle point, and then going up like this, right? And that's my north arrow. So select everything, group it, and then let's say that, well, north arrows are not always pointing up. So let's say this is kind of like this. This is the north, right? And super quick, the way I did this, sorry guys. Well, I'm gonna select this, well, I regroup it. So whenever I select this, you're gonna see this little thing. So that's the combo. So make sure you turn it on. It's gonna make your life so much easier, especially when rotating or moving things fast. So combo, select this, and then you're gonna see this little arch. Going back, red arrow, green arrow, you can select on those arrows to move it, right? And then you're gonna have this arch right here, which you can use to, if you click on it, hold it, and then drag it, it's gonna rotate it. But like I said before, because you have the O snap command turned on, it's gonna limit your moves to 90-degree angles. So again, if you want to override that, shift, hold it, and then, well, first thing, click on this little arch, and then try to drag it, and then shift, hold it, and then you're gonna be able to move it freely. So let's say we want the north arrow to be there. So there, perfect. So there's one thing. Well, let me just make it a little bit smaller. No, I think that's fine. No, we can work with it later. Okay, so next parts. We want um, room separations. This is very important, guys. This is very important because this is gonna, once we start rendering this thing, this is gonna be super important, right? So we want every single room of this house to have a different texture. So to be different from, or we want every single room or every single space to be different from the other. So I'm gonna do some lines to make sure we separate those rooms, right? So what I'm gonna do is just double click on the layer and then line, and then I'm gonna do it right here, and then right here another one right there, and then on this one, yeah, right there, that's fine as well. and then I want this from B to be different than this one, but this is an open space, so we can just create a line right in the middle. Let's make it in the middle, and right here, and there we go. That's the way we separate rooms. And like I said, I'm gonna explain why later. So we have that, we have the north arrow, we have, now we need dimensions, so double click there, and then we're gonna go ahead and go up here where it says dimension and then linear dimension, and then we just want to add basic dimensions. Okay, so click right here, click right there, and right there. So we can change this, right? So give me just one second. Okay guys, so now dimensions, this is very important. So first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna go to dimension, right, and then we're gonna click where it says annotation styles, and this should pop out. Now click on this little arrow to expand this, then we're gonna go to foot and inch architectural, and then make sure right here where it says model scale, model space scale, type 1, and then height, make sure it says it is 0.75, and click okay, so give me just one, yeah, click apply and then okay, right? So now the next part, dimensions, again, set the no sets, give me just one second, uh, set current annotation style, sorry, in my case it's an inch decimal. I don't want that, I want to go, or we want to go to the foot inch architectural and then okay, and then we're gonna start dimensioning this thing, right? So dimensions, linear, so I want the distance from here to here. Let's change this little half an inch, I don't want that. So dimensions, annotation style, let's have, I don't want any fractions or anything, so foot architectural, and then length units, can we just, okay, no, linear resolution, we just want, so length units, linear resolution, we just want up to 1 inch, right? And then apply and hit okay. So now if we go ahead and dimension this thing, so linear dimension, this, it's gonna give you, it's not, you're gonna get rid of the little the fractions, right? So I think right now we can adjust this thing a little bit more. I think this is way too big, and I can make this a little bit bigger. So again, dimensions, and sorry, let me fix this really quick, and then I'm gonna come back to you and show you how to do it, guys. Okay, so now it looks a little bit better. Okay, so the what I did is go back to dimensions and then annotation styles. Again, expand this architecture, so I want 0.6 right here, and then 0.6, and expand where it says arrows, and where it says arrow size, let's do 0.6, apply, and it's gonna change that. Then there we go. So again, please have this number, so 0.6, I mean, yeah, 0.6, and then 0.6 right here as well, right? And everything should be fine. So apply and then okay. Now we can keep working on the dimensioning of this thing. So linear dimension, basically what you want to do is have dimensions for everything, every single distance. Okay, so I'm gonna do that real quick. So I don't want to make this video like very long, because we still have some things to do. So I'm gonna finish this and then I'll come back to you. Okay guys, so this is kind of what you want. We just want the outer dimensions, right? We're not gonna mess with them on the inside, because as I said, we're gonna do something, we're gonna render this thing, so we don't want anything on the inside. So the next part that I'm gonna do, guys, is the last layer, which is the section cut lines. So for like many or in a floor plan, guys, you're always gonna have section cut lines, right? Meaning, well, the sections are meant to show you how the spaces work inside the building from a horizontal, no, vertical point of view. So right here it's a horizontal one. So basically what we're doing is we're looking at the project from the top view, and then sections show a different information. But we're not gonna do any sections, so I'm gonna show you how to represent section cut lines, right? So what I'm gonna do is and then for the most part we have one vertical and one horizontal. So I'm gonna do both. So line, and then I'm gonna click right here, and you want these lines to be bigger than the actual project, right? And then I'm gonna show you how to represent those. So we want the one right there, and then another one, let's say we want it right there. Perfect. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a little rectangle, right? So let's say I have the rectangle right there, and then copy, and then I'm gonna copy it to this part right here, and then I'm gonna go ahead and select the same one, or what? Yeah, I'm gonna copy the same rectangle, then I'm gonna copy it right here, and then I'm just gonna rotate it. So rotate, initial point, ending point, and then just rotate it, right? And then copy it once again, and we're gonna move it right there. So basically what this means is whatever, so the section cut or whatever, this the part, or yeah, the part that it's being cut from the project is, or whatever, or what we can see from the project is from this line going up. So that's why we have these little squares representing that this is what we're seeing in that section. And like I said, you don't have, I mean, you're gonna learn more about sections later, but I mean, this is the way we represent them. Okay, so once we have this, now we have the base to keep or to start working in Illustrator and Photoshop, guys. Okay, so the next part, we need to export all this. Let me go ahead and move this to the side, and then I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. So the way you do that is, remember this little combo. So you're gonna have this little square right here, so we can click on it and then drag to transform the whatever we are selecting. But in this case I wanted to keep the same proportion, so I'm gonna click, drag, and then press and hold the key shift to keep the proportions, and there we go. That's what we want. Okay, so yeah, it's looking good. Now the next part, we're gonna export everything into Illustrator.